There's always something new to learn, and there's always help that can be given.
Welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I'm Dr. Dawn Earhart Whitty, your guide on a transformative journey of personal development and discussions of universal truths. Join me and a panel of life coaches and spiritual leaders from around the world discussing how to handle some of life's greatest challenges. We will be sharing stories of love, faith, and inspiration with you, our faithful listeners, to live your happiest and most fulfilling life, full of purpose and passion for yourself, your families, and the world. We are here to be the change we wish to see. Let the conversation begin. Hello, and welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I am so happy today to have my friend Jill Parker and Scott Pigman on the show. Welcome, Jill and Scott.
Thank you.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourselves? Whatever, we can get into the conversation as soon as you introduce yourselves.
Absolutely. So I'm Jill Parker. I live in Southern California. I've been here for about 22 years now, originally from the Midwest. And I just got married to this loving man this summer, in August after we had been together for going on 12 years. So we've had just an amazing journey with our relationship and then some of the volunteer work that we do that we'll talk about with the Humane Society here in San Diego. By day, what I do in my day job, I'm a project manager for a company on the East Coast, and I enjoy my work a lot and enjoy dogs even more.
And Scott, and I want you to tell people how we know each other, Scott. This is great.
Sure. Dawn and I went to high school together as kids in Worcester, Ohio, down near Edgewood Elementary on Grassdark Path. Um, I joined the Navy, and I've been in California since Gulp, the 1980s, the late 1980s. So I've been here for a long time. And Jill was looking for us to do some volunteer work, and she threw a bunch of stuff at the wall. And then finally, we started volunteering basically full time at the dog shelter, the Humane Society here in San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, you guys do something that I think you're angels that walk on this earth, because I can't do it because I fall in love with dogs way too easily. I'm a foster failure 4 times. So,
That's okay. We need people like you in the world too, Dawn.
That's true.
Yes,
well,
we love and adore you.
I always like to start the show off with a quote, and I've used this one on the show before, but I love it so much. It's by Anatole France, and it says, "Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened." And I love that because the bond that we have with our animals is it's so special. It's like unconditional love. So I want you guys to tell me, how often do you go to the pound, and what do you do when you're volunteering?
Yeah, so I'll tell you my schedule first, and then I'll turn it over to Scott. So I try to go once a week. When you start out with the Humane Society, you do a lot of training, you do some mentoring, and then you do some on-site mentoring. So they pair you with someone who's very experienced with dogs. And they kind of, walk you through the ropes of what you need to know. And then at the end of that mentoring, you do a couple of sessions and then there's a quiz, right? They want to make sure that you understand safety. They want to make sure that you understand the baseline dog behavior that you're going to be dealing with, and how to handle situations that might come up that could put you or the dog in danger, right? It's always a very heavy safety focus. So I try to go once a week. Once you work up to where we are, which is they call that, I think, core, and you can now walk dogs. We started out in foundation, which means you go in and you clean kennels for 2 hours at a time. And I'll tell you what, yeah, or more. There's nothing like cleaning a kennel that a dog has been in for, 8, 10, 12 hours because they've had to go potty, right? And they want to make sure that you're all in when you do your training, and it didn't phase us. We were fine with that. We got a really good flavor for how the Humane Society works and how they do their day, and all that good stuff. So we just learned a ton. But for me personally, I try to go in once a week.
And I do at least 3 shifts a week. Last year, I did 373 hours of volunteer work there. This year, in fact, today, I went over 400 for the year. And I go in every holiday, every Thanksgiving since we've been here. I go in every Christmas, 4th of July, love to be in there with the dogs and anytime. So I'm kind of obsessed.
Yeah, and
Have
just
you?
to give you a comparison, I wanted to share my lifetime hours. We've been volunteering for what, 3 years?
3 years, a couple weeks ago,
I'm looking at the app now. My lifetime hours are 431. So comparatively speaking, your lifetime hours are,
over 1,200.
yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Do you mostly work? You just work with the dogs, not any cats?
Yeah, you have to be trained to work with specific animals. You have to go through their training procedures and get approved to work so that you're acting safely, you're acting in the best interests of the animals, and you're working as a team member, part of that. So we are just on the dog team.
Oh, well, yeah. I love all the animals. I love all animals, but dogs have my heart. Um, so I want to talk to you. I want you to share some good stories, some heartwarming stories that you've experienced. I'm sure you've had some sad experiences, but I don't want to hear those because I can't read books that the dog dies.
I understand that. I don't like to watch movies or series where there's a dog that becomes injured or dies either, Dawn. So I completely understand that.
Yeah, so it's share some. I'm Scott. I'm sure you've got a ton. You've got so many hours there. I mean, that's like almost a full-time employee.
Yes, some of the staff have said that they see me more than their coworkers often. Um, we started out cleaning kennels, and I think that my switch kind of flipped. There was one Saturday or Sunday morning we were in cleaning the kennels, and we go through a process. The dog goes on the other side of the kennel. We clean out the front part of the kennel. We move out all the soiled laundry, wipe it down, scrub it down, spray it down, antiseptic it down. Then we put everything back in, clean laundry, clean toys, and then we bring the dog forward. Well, one morning I forgot to put the toys in prior to letting the dogs back in. And normally when they come back in, they'll sniff around, they'll look around, they'll see what's new and see what's clean. But I forgot to put the toys in, so I went and put them in afterwards. And I found that they were like there was a toy being introduced into their environment. Their tails started wagging and they really engaged with the toy. When previously, when they were just laying in there, they just came and looked at the toys and we kind of look around, maybe grab them. So that kind of uh, made me understand what our relationship with is these animals at the shelter and how we can bring them joy. The thing is that people ask me, do I have a favorite? And I literally mean that the dog that I'm walking at that moment is my favorite. And it absolutely is because we're sharing that time together. It's their 15 or 20 minutes or so to be out at that moment. And I'm going to let them do what they like to do. If they like to sniff, if they like to chase balls, if they just like to sit and get scratches and look out into space, that's what we're doing. This is their time. And each dog, I walked 10 dogs today. I took a day off of work. My company gives us a volunteer day, and so I was there for 8 hours, walked 22 dogs. And it's just those moments with those dogs that they have out, they bring me so much joy. And people say, thank you for doing what you do. And I say, I feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm getting more joy. I feel like I'm getting more out of it than these dogs are because you have a rough day and then you're tired. After work, I go in on Wednesday evenings. But when I get with those dogs, everything is just all right. And it's just a very happy and joyful moment to be with them and to see what brings them joy in their life. And one of the things that I think we do every time is we're keeping those dogs healthy, safe. We're keeping they're mentally stimulated. We're keeping them exercised. That we're also helping them become better puppies, better dogs for their families. And I always tell every dog when I'm out, I said, we love you. We love you. Love you. We're going to take care of you. And someday some family's going to come and say, how did we ever live without Sandy? We need to have you in our life. And I tell that to every dog, every walk.
Again, I love that you do this, and I know you get so much joy from it. I know you're a huge dog lover. When I first visited you, I remember Jesus, who you recently lost, and my heart broke when I heard that because what a good guy.
He was such a special guy. He would just walk up to you and smile at you and just want to hang out. And he was the softest dog to pet and cuddle with. And he was awesome.
Yeah.
How old was he?
He was just about to turn 16. He was 2 months away from being 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to know what you feed your dog.
To make them last that long, right? It's,
Yeah, because
oh
that's a
gosh.
good lot. And he was a big guy.
Yeah, he was about 70-ish pounds. And he had some health problems, for basically the last 4 or 5 years. Just some stuff that old dogs get started to show up. So he was a trooper, and yeah, we always think of him. We're hoping he's having a blast across the other side of the Rainbow Bridge.
Yes, yes. I'm hoping he's up there with all mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're all frolicking and running together on the beach or in a field or whatever they do, eating
Yeah,
bacon, all the other
getting
things they want.
getting into trouble. So,
Yeah.
Jill, do you have some good stories?
I
I
would
know
say,
you do.
yeah, absolutely. I would say one of my favorite stories is one that gets repeated, is when I hear that a dog I know is adopted. So every time that we're on a shift, we all have radios and walkie-talkies, right? Because you have to communicate. You communicate when you leave a building walking a dog, you communicate when you're coming back. Oftentimes you name the dog. If you're walking a dog who is reactive to other dogs or just unsure of their surroundings, you drop tarps on the front of the kennels of the other dogs. So there's a process, right? But normally somebody will radio and say, I'm going to go use Play Yard One to have an interaction with Alfie, one of the dogs that's available for adoption. And the interaction can go anywhere from 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I'm there listening to the other end of the walkie-talkie, I just keep hoping that the next announcement is Alfie's getting adopted, because the staff will tell over the radio when a dog's getting adopted. And it just, some people will go on the radio and they're like, all right, Alfie, woohoo. And it's just this great moment when you know a dog that gets adopted. So I would say that's one of my favorite situations. And then another one is a lot of these animals that come into the Humane Society are coming in from tough situations, right? Maybe they're an owner surrender because the owner is no longer able to care for them. It could be a dog that has a major health problem and they just don't have the financial means to take care of it, so they have to drop the dog at the Humane Society and hope for the best. It could also be a dog that's just picked up as a stray, right? Both of our dogs that we adopted from there were strays. They had no microchip, so you don't know their backstory. But I just appreciate how I've seen the Humane Society really kind of bring a dog back to health, right? And bring a dog back to their true selves, right? They might come in, they might be thin and emaciated. They might have been hit by a car. They might have been attacked by a dog or a coyote. You just don't know. But like, when you see those dogs, just really become healthy dogs, it just really makes me feel good. And I love those stories. And one of the dogs that I was very enamored with, we think he got adopted. We need to check, but his name was Zeus. So you said Hanzus before. That was our former dog. And he was a Rottweiler. And I don't know much about that breed. He came in pretty thin and, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks later, he's, much more healthy. He's active. He's just a sweet, sweet guy. So those are the kinds of stories that I love. Seeing those dogs get healthy again, and then also when they get adopted.
Like Jill said, one of the things is that when there's long-term dogs, and a lot of the dogs are up there for up to or over a year,
Yeah,
um,
sometimes.
it's kind of like a proud parent because you spent so much time with this dog hoping that they would be adopted. And a lot of the long-term adoptions or the long-term spending the time in the kennel is just due to maybe they may have a health problem that's going to cost something. Maybe they are dog reactive and they're needed to be in an only dog home. And so a lot of those dogs tend to go a little bit longer in the shelter because people maybe want one or two dogs or don't have the money or want to help or deal with medical problems that can be arising. So those dogs are especially happy when they found homes. In fact, recently Derek, who had been at the shelter for 324 days, was adopted. So he was one of the dog reactive dogs, needed him to be the only dog, and just very happy to see him. When we come into the shelter, there's a board out for the month, and it'll have the pictures of the dogs. And the ones that have been there a while, they're normally like a 3x5, but then they kind of go up the 8x10s, pictures of them when they go up on the board and they've been there for more than 200 or so days. But
Yeah. It's a major celebration. The Humane Society gets very excited, just like we do as volunteers and their staff, when a long-term dog gets adopted.
yeah,
So it's a great success
Oh,
story. Yeah.
that, that how okay, so here is a question. How do you keep from A, wanting to take everyone home, and B, like from crying all the time? Because I would just be in tears all the time because I couldn't take them home.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how I would feel about that, honestly, when I got started, because I grew up with dogs. I haven't had a lot of dogs as like my own, but I had like a long-term dog that I adopted from a gal I used to work with, and it was a Chihuahua, right? So I started out with a small
Coco.
dog, and yeah, Coco. You met Coco several times.
Yes.
Had she had a nice long life. She was with me until she was 17 and a half, right? So I guess for me, it's like I've seen dogs at every stage. I've seen puppies, I've seen adult dogs, I've seen elderly dogs, right? And I've seen healthy dogs and sick dogs. So I just thought, well, I've seen it all, but I don't know how I'm going to feel about seeing it all in mass, right? Because there are a lot of animals at the Humane Society. And something for me, it just works. I will get sad, like if we find out, that maybe a dog was so sick that, the dog couldn't make it, right? And I had met that dog before. That makes me really sad. But at the same time, I realize, the same thing happens to humans, right? We get diseases, we get sick. Some of us have a terminal illness, and you just don't know. So I think for me, I'm just grateful for the time that I might have known that dog or spent with that dog, and just grateful that they were in a safe and very, loving and enriching environment at the Humane Society. So, but again, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel, but for me, I've been able to be just fine with it. Um, I do want to adopt every dog. I just can't. So I can't say that I've come up with a way to not want to take them home because I do. But we're very happy with the two dogs that we were able to adopt from the Humane Society. They're both very loving pups and they're great dogs. So
Yeah, it's difficult now that we've got two younger pups. When we did have the two older pups, and we knew eventually that they would be passing during probably our time of being at the shelter, we would always be aware that we can take home a dog. Now we're no, we cannot bring really another dog home.
yeah.
But one of the things that we kind of focus on when we're looking at helping these dogs is the joy that we get with them and the joy that they give to us. And I think it's just knowing that we're doing something for good and we're probably extending that dog's mental health state and certainly their physical state, getting them out of the kennel and being ready for adoption. It is sad when a dog has to be put down. And it does bring tears to our eyes, whether it be for whatever the reason would be. And this is what is called no-kill shelter, but they don't really use that term. They have to, the shelters that are technically no-kill, they have to have a 90% uh, free escape rate. Like the dogs get out of the shelter, there's to be a designated as a no-kill. And the only time that dogs do go down here is when they do have a health problem. Recently, McKenna, a dog that came in with her partner, Halia, but McKenna had a long-term disease and it was starting to ravage her, so she had to be put down. Or sometimes a dog bites someone in the shelter, and they do go through a behavioral assessment to make sure, was it just a one-off? Was it something this, or is it something that maybe the dog is experiencing kennel stress from being in the kennel and being in the environment? Some dogs do great in the shelter environment, others not so much. And when those are the tough ones when they kind of go downhill very quickly. They start to become aggressive just from the environment that they can't readily handle. And that's probably the hardest one is you realize that the medical, they're going to be going anyway, but behavioral, if they hadn't have been here, what could we have done to help them? And that's kind of the hardest loss for me, at least, is the ones that came in okay, and then just being in the shelter, the behavioral has brought them down.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, see, I would cry too much, too much. I lost my dog Lance. He was the first dog I had as an adult when I moved to California. And I lost him. And then a few weeks later, I went to the pound looking for another dog and I saw this 12-year-old lab, I think, and it said owner surrendered because it was old. And oh, I could cry like thinking about that now. I'm like, I would have given anything to have one more day with my dog. I can't.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Do you see that too?
Yeah, we see dogs of all ages coming into the Humane Society, right? And like I mentioned, it's hard to know, like a lot of times if they come in as a stray and they have no chip, you just don't know a backstory. Some dogs come in because they were picked up by humane law enforcement. So somebody might have called and said, "Hey, there's a dog loose." And I don't know what's going to happen to it. Or somebody could call and say, "Hey, there's a dog that was just hit by a car. Here's where you need to come and get it." But then, there are owner surrenders for various reasons. I would say that Gosh, we've seen some dogs that were like classified as like 12 years old, 15 years old. There was a really cute husky who was older, about the same time as one of our dogs were there or was there. And the husky was so cute, he would howl and sing the entire time in his kennel. And I think, do you remember how old he was? I think they
Just
said
10 or 11.
10. Okay, 10 or 11. Yeah, so we see dogs of all ages coming into the shelter. And certainly the older ones sometimes take longer to get adopted than, say, a puppy, right? So, but
Yeah, I mean, I know people who specifically go out and rescue senior dogs.
yes,
And again, I can't do that either because I get so attached. Like I don't want them only for a couple years or a year,
right.
you know, but I know
Yeah.
that that's a good thing to do. I just am not the person that can do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Scott and I have talked that, maybe sometime next year we'll foster as well. So we'll bring in a third dog for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and try to use social media to publish that dog and try to help the dog get adopted. That would be really fun to see if we could do that for a couple of weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be in our stars for 2026. I don't know.
I hope you manifest it.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Well, since this podcast is called The Secrets of Being, and I named it Secrets of Being because I wanted to share things that I had learned along the way, you know, the aha moments that you can't, you can't see the world the same again, after you've learned this, right? And animals teach us so much. So could you guys share some secrets of being that either volunteering or just living with dogs has taught you?
Ricky Gervais, he said he worships dogs. He's doesn't believe in God, but he worships dogs. And he said, a dog loves you more than you love itself. Uh, and each moment that I spend with a dog, I try to gather from that dog the energy and just the love of being alive, the love of being loved, the love of just enjoying what you enjoy to do. And I focus on, like I said earlier, to give these dogs the opportunity to do what they want to do in their time out. It's their time. And to see that joy, little Popeye, who Jill is really in love with, Popeye the sailor dog. He
He's a tiny little pit bull who's gray and white, and he is the cutest thing. He's
you
so cute.
you walk into his kennel, and I don't know because his kennel can be a little dark at certain times of the day when the doors aren't open, and he kind of maybe his eyesight isn't as great because he like slowly, but as soon as he realizes you're there to take him out, he starts spinning, and it's difficult to get the clasp on. So it's just that joy in those little things in life is taking it's like city slickers where um, Jack Palance said, "This is the meaning of life." And he said, "That's for you to figure out." Well, for me, it's just loving and being loved and giving love to the people and the animals that I love. And that's kind of my thought on life is to just love and bring happiness to those around you. And
Yeah,
dogs
that
do that.
they do. They know how to live in the moment
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they're present and unconditional love, sources of unconditional love. Joe, what about you?
Yeah. I love Scott and how he views, his love of animals and dogs specifically. I think that's wonderful. For me, I think it's taught me how to just be more present when I am at the shelter, right? Because, when you're with a dog, regardless of where you are, whether you're in their kennel or in a play yard or you're out with them on a walk, you have to completely be present, right? Because number one, going back to safety, as we talked about with some of our training, but then number two, you're just I'm enamored by the dogs, right? I'm like, oh, what do I need to know about this dog? Are they shy? Are they lively and spunky? Are they older, so they're going to move a little slower? Do they have an injury that they're recovering from? So I just think it's taught me in that moment how to be really, really present. And then just dogs are courageous. I think a lot of people don't really realize that, but I find dogs to be so courageous. There's a dog there right now. It's a breed I don't know much about. His name is Philippe, and he's a Dogo Argentino. And I was telling Scott, if this dog grows into his big block head, he will probably be about at least 150 pounds. But he's now a tripod. He came in with a leg injury in his hind leg, right hind leg, and they had to amputate it. And just watching him go from like this dog who couldn't stand, and now he's able to almost run as a tripod, and it might have been what, 4 or 5 weeks
Close to that,
since
yeah.
surgery. So I just think that's so courageous, right? Dogs can't really speak to us and they can't necessarily communicate with us the way we would expect them to, right? Through language or whatever, but it's about their energy and it's about their body language and what they're showing you at that time. So I think I've learned all of those things through some of this volunteer work.
Oh, I always tell you guys that I think you're angels because what you do is so important. And I know that you grow from it and it gives back to you by doing what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But it's
absolutely.
I wish I could do it. But again, I know my limits. At
Well,
one
and
point,
you do other amazing work in the
Yes.
world. So don't forget about that. It doesn't.
I always joke that I work with kids, not animals, because I love them both equally, but you can't take all the children home. There are laws against that. But with
That's very
dogs,
true. That's
it's
very true. Yep. I like that. I like how you describe that.
it's true. I know my limits. Well, before we go, I could talk to you guys forever because I love you. But can you leave us with one nugget, piece of wisdom that you just really want people to take away from this episode?
I told my employer when we get this day off that I felt like I'm not doing anything on my volunteer day because I enjoy it so much that I would do it anyway. Uh, the staff at the shelter are amazing. They really, really care about those animals. They're not making six figures there. They're doing these things because they love animals too, and that's why they're there. So the people who I know people, a lot of people talk about me like you say, where I don't know if I could do it. Well, I encourage you to get out there. If it's not with animals, uh, if it's with kids, or if it's with unsheltered people, or if it's whatever you want to do, wherever you want to do, I really encourage you to get out there and to provide something because you're going to be giving back to the community and giving back to these people or these animals or these movements to help. But I get more out of it. Like Jill said, I've volunteered over 1,200 hours in 3 years, but I feel like I'm getting the good end of the deal.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah, it nourishes your soul when you are of service to others,
it
whether they're
does.
animals or children or elderly or whomever. What about you, Jill?
I agree. I agree. I was going to say something very similar. Like, I feel like for me, this has been a great way to engage with the community and learn something new, right? Like, I've learned
Yeah.
so much about dogs that I never even imagined was possible to know, right? And Scott said the staff at the Humane Society is great. And I just think it's amazing when people do compassionate work, and Dawn, I feel that about you with the work that you do and everything that you've tried to bring good to in the world when you go and serve others in Africa and other places in your local community as well. I think that's been super fulfilling to me. And I would say that, one of the lessons for me is there's always something new to learn and there's always help that can be given. So for me, those are some of my lessons that I've
Oh,
experienced.
that's wonderful. Well, thank you again for being such amazing humans and being in my life. I'm so blessed to know you.
Likewise, we truly, truly love you and just appreciate you. So thank you for this opportunity to talk to you on your podcast.
Yes, well, the passion that you have and the love for animals it radiates from you. So I'm so grateful there are people like you in this world.
Thank
So
you so much.
thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Secrets of Being.
Thank you for tuning in to the Secrets of Being podcast. We appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more inspiring content. For further inspiration, visit thesecretsofbeing.com and join our community. Until next time, stay inspired and keep unlocking the secrets of being.